Well, Kelly, I would like to be in Wakanda.
All it took was one speech. It was one vulnerable moment, and everything after that, it seemed, clicked for Gabrielle Union. In 2013, Union was honored with the Fierce and Fearless Award at that year's Black Women in Hollywood Awards presented by Essence magazine. She was honest and open, and in a way that she hadn't been before. She shifted and evolved into the transparent disruptor that she's so celebrated for today. She has 27 years worth of credits to her name and counting. This season, her series LA's Finest, a spinoff of the hit 2003 sequel Bad Boys 2, hits Fox TV, and soon she'll go into production on several new movies and projects. Union is an activist, best-selling author, producer, and of course actor, and well, she's my friend. We chat.
Gab, I feel like a shift for you happened right around 2016. What happened around 4 years ago that made you kind of want to be more freely expressive?
Well, you know what? I think going back even a little bit further to the Essence Women in Hollywood luncheon and getting honored and wanting to write a speech that was rooted in truth and transparency. And, you know, those are always like the best laid plans kind of thing. And then you have to kind of wait and see what the reaction is. And nobody died. My world didn't end. And if anything, I felt much more free and it was well received. But as I started writing my book, We're Gonna Need More Wine, in 2015 and 2016, and going to a lot of therapy, this empty basket you see here, it used to be full of and now it's empty.
I think one thing that endears you towards people is your forthcomingness, but that also feels very vulnerable. What was the push for you to be as open and as forthcoming as you are about your life? And are there any challenges with putting yourself out there like that?
Yeah, I just got tired, you know. It's just, that you see in those movies where it's just like, and one day she just got tired. And then it's like vigilante. And instead of, being like, warriors, come out and play. I was just on I've been through a lot of and I'm sick of hiding, of being afraid of being, revealed or whatever.
Yeah.
I'd rather use my life, my reality, my hardships, my rock bottom to share with other people and how I got through.
What have you heard from maybe women who read your book and how they're responding to kind of that specific narrative?
You kind of go into it assuming most women are probably going to relate to this chapter or this chapter. It was all sorts of things, like every city, each woman, I couldn't predict like, okay, they're going to respond to the, fertility journey. They're going to respond to divorce. They're going to respond to not knowing where my vagina from my urethra. Everyone kind of took something different away. So it made me glad that I had shared so much different kind of stuff. And it wasn't just a book about, one thing, one part of my journey. But the response was a lot. I do feel like I take on other people's energy and their emotions. So as the book signing is going, I'm literally in the, minute or less than a minute that it takes for me to sign and make eye contact. People are literally telling me the worst that's ever happened to them and just wanting to be seen and just wanting to know that they're going to be okay. But you're just receiving like all of this trauma and pain and hurt. And I would just feel like I couldn't figure out where my emotions began and ended and theirs began and ended. And just needed to kind of like tip out some of the, trauma with my therapist and figure out how to be of service on this tour and how to be of service to myself.
You know that you're more than an entertainer. I mean, you are an educator too, and a lot of people kind of lean into things that you put out there in the world? Is there a place that you start to make sure that you're gifting people with the right tools and appropriate tools?
Talk therapy has been incredibly helpful,
Mm,
and meditating has been incredibly helpful, and just giving my mind a release, which is my words with friends.
yeah.
Feel free to play,
I,
Kelly.
I'm
Um,
ready. I'm ready. Let's do it.
I don't want to have to call you out on Twitter. But yeah, or just like reading, or just taking time to myself to kind of give myself my own peace.
I often, when people are like, "Oh my God, what is Gabrielle Union really like?" I'm like, she is probably hands down the most self-aware person I have ever known in my life, and that's something that I gravitate towards naturally. And I think this conversation right now is really kind of indicative of that. But does that play a role into the selection that you make about projects that you want to work as an actress, as a producer?
I took the jobs that wanted me back. I wish I had that career strategy that, that other actors talk about, but I've never had like 8 projects that I could choose from. It was like, who likes me back? That's where I'm going. But since I've started my production company, and I don't know how I got to be an ingenue at 44, 42, 43, 44. But I started getting more offers, and I could be more selective about what I wanted to do. And I feel like it was like 2 years ago now. Some spiritual healer, guru person told me that I should always center my joy, my peace, and my grace. And at the time, I was like, yes, more rosé, please. Um, but it stuck in there. So when I was doing my vision board, I found the words joy, peace, and grace, and I put it on my vision board. And I was like, what if I anything that comes to me, anything that I'm asking for, I just don't want it to take away from my joy, my peace, or my grace. It has to only enhance those things. And I've stuck to that. But if you take a job just for the check, you're opening the door to all sorts of things. And very rarely will those things that you're opening the door for be joy, peace, or grace.
That brings us to LA's Finest, where you are an executive producer. You're the boss. It is your baby. Is your experience different because of that?
Having, me as a Black woman and Jessica as a Latinx woman, who are both business women outside of Hollywood, we had a very specific idea of how we wanted this production to go and how we wanted it to look. To be populated with people who actually look like Los Angeles, who are bringing not only their brilliance as writers and creators and directors and producers, but their innate greatness as people of color who, occupy space in this world. And we also wanted to center time management and efficiency and family. When we first started, Jess had just had Hayes and she was breastfeeding, and she was like, I'm sure you're not going to want me. I'm breastfeeding. And I was like, a breastfeeding woman knows more than anyone how to multitask and how to keep all the balls in the air and keep a kid alive. Yeah. There's no one better than you, and it's only you that who could be Nancy McKenna in the way that we want to present Nancy McKenna. So yeah, it's dramatically different. Nobody wastes time. We communicate. We get home in time to see our families. We are able to be active, parents and friends and community members. And it's a give and take, and we listen and we compromise. And it's not a weird dictatorship where bull flies. We don't have the stomach for it.
One thing that I read probably about 2 years ago, and it was like a blind item in one of the trade magazines. I thought this was so interesting. It basically said that they were shocked that you actively wanted to bring in a partner as your equal. And we're talking about Jessica Alba on LA's Finest, because the inference was that, you are a strong enough name and brand to stand on your own, but that they thought it was really smart that you thought that that was something that was important to do. Why was that important for you to do? As opposed to
Love a
maybe,
boss. I mean, Kelly, like I love a boss mother. Like so, like I love women with big lives. I love women with personality and opinions and who take up space.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of an interview that I heard, and it stayed with me forever. They were interviewing Julia Roberts for My Best Friend's Wedding, and they were like, "Why would you choose Cameron Diaz, this hot young starlet?" And she was like, "Because a lesser actress or a lesser woman wouldn't make sense."
Mm-hmm.
And it's also I feel like she followed it up with, "And what are you saying about me?"
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I've just always been surrounded by big personality women, alpha women. I love them. I'm kind of uncomfortable, like being surrounded by mealy mouth, like, what do you think? I love it. I love it. And if it's supposed to be a two-hander, I want somebody who's equally as yoked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When on just what we come in with as Gab and Jess, they're like, okay. And then what we bring to the screen, it's like, because we're bringing our full ass selves to the job.
What is the one role that no one has offered you yet, or the one type of role that no one has offered you yet that you absolutely would love to bring to life?
Well, Kelly, I would like to be in Wakanda. I could be like a gardener with some hedges. I don't know, like in the background. I've never even been able to audition for a superhero, nothing. Not even a superhero auntie, nothing. So that would be awesome. I've never been offered the right horror project.
Gab, what do you have coming up next? I mean, I know we're excited about the second season of LA's Finest, but people who didn't dig into the first season are about to be able to get the first season in fall TV, right?
Yes, on Fox. Yes. You don't need Monday Night Football. You want to watch season 1 of LA's Finest on Fox, Mondays at 8 p.m., September 21st. After that, we hopefully we will be going, we'll get a third season pickup, and we'll figure out when we'll start to shoot that. But I am excited about The Perfect Find, which I'm going to be shooting for Netflix, and a couple other projects that we're trying to do, soon.
So it has been almost 20 years to the date since Bring It On came out, and it still feels very contemporary, and people resonate with the story and with your character, Isis. I call you Isis from time to time. What does it mean to you that people are still invested in that film after 20 years?
20 years later. It feels great. It feels great to be part of something that has stood the test of time. I wish the storyline wasn't so relevant. I wish Black creators got credit for their work. I wish that our culture was not mined and repackaged without us. So I just wish it wasn't as relevant. I wish, things were a little different, or a lot different for us as, Black creatives. But the fact that the storyline and the music and the fun of it all and the social justice element of it all, it's still poignant and relatable. And yeah.
Gab, you know how I feel about you. It's always great talking to you. Thank you so much for doing this.
No, my pleasure.
Up next on Another Act, John David Washington.